Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm NBG, and this video is going to be about my week in review. It's coming a couple days late, but I was working on a few things and we're going to talk about that. The week went pretty well. I didn't go insanely hard on making gold. However, I had a couple ideas for making potentially big gold, which I kind of hinted at, that didn't end up working out. So I'm not exactly sitting in as good of a spot as I thought, but we'll get into that. So let's get started. So going into Tuesday, trying what I had, I ended up needing to buy like a ton of fish and stuff like that in order to speed level with the Tuskar and whatnot. So I ended up tanking my gold down to about 10.6 million, almost 10.7 million. That was my low point coming into Tuesday. And then I tried some stuff and I was able to break even, get back to where I was. But what I tried did not make the gold I was expecting, and we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. And from this point, I essentially needed to make some profits. I hadn't hardly made profits since last week. Like at the end of last week, really, I was at like 11.3. Like I didn't really make much over the week. So it was time to bear down and make some gold. So over the course of like yesterday and a little bit last night, I only made a little bit yesterday, but I put myself up to about 13.7 million now, which is not too bad considering I'm really not going that hard at actual gold making. So I'm quite happy with my numbers. Pretty good profit, especially considering my low point of 10.6, all the way up to about 13.7, and that basically almost all of that came just Tuesday night. By the time I logged off on Tuesday night, I was up almost 3 million. And then yesterday I dabbled a little bit and made like another 400,000 or something. But either way, ending the week at 13.7 million essentially, or at least from when I made this video now, isn't too bad. We're making some pretty good profits, but I'm looking to make more. I'll just point it out because, again, we're talking about what I did this week, so I'll put this in here. I sell combatant gear. I still do. There's times where things I accidentally posted under and I shouldn't post. But for the most part, like it was either yesterday or the day before that the profits were down a little bit, so I didn't make as much. And then all of a sudden I got on yesterday and I was like, oh, look, the profits are here again. So I started pumping them out. To this point in the expansion, we're like, a month in now, and I've made 3.5 million. Granted, only half of that is profit technically, but 3.5 million in sales on combatant gear, on mostly just leatherworking and mail. I can't stress to you enough to where on your server you should check it out, and 500 gold to 2,500 gold profit per, it's worth keeping it in stock because it does sell like consistently. This consistent 672 I've sold so far. So yep, that's one way I brought in just a little bit of gold this week. The ledger doesn't seem to want to work for me correctly, but the other things that I ended up crafting this week are I've been doing my Azure weave and my Chrono weave like I talked about. The things that I shared with you guys are things that I do consistently. I have made a little bit of gold with a couple of my shuffles. Those are things that if nothing else is going well, I usually look at my shuffles to see if anything is profitable. Every once in a while that is, especially on Tuesdays with like the cards. I'm sure you guys have noticed that like Awakening Air or Awakening Earth will absolutely skyrocket in price. And if you can be there when that's happening, you can then look to buy the cards, turn them into some rousings easily, and then flip them for good gold profits. So I did a small amount of that. And other than that, the Zap Throttle, I sell probably on average one a day. That's been making me small amounts of gold throughout the week. By the end of the week, that makes 30 to 50,000 gold. I mean it adds up. And then other than that, on Tuesdays, honestly, Tuesdays into maybe a little bit of Wednesday, for me are like the only days I can really make good gold. Those are days that I pretty much focus solely on crafting for profit. The rest of the week is not very good, so I did do a bit of fangs and some scales and other things that were profitable for me, using a lot of craft sim to look around and see what was available for profit. And if it looked good, I went after it, and I made my gold. But now that we're getting deeper into the week, we're approaching the weekend already. We're now at the point where I'm probably going to craft a lot less unless it jumps out to me that it's worthwhile doing. I really feel that that's kind of where the expansion is heading for me right now, to where the whole week is busy work and getting profession quests done and things of that nature, and getting my Mythic Plus in, getting some PvP in, and then come Tuesday, Wednesday is when I'm going to be going hard at trying to make a buck. So as a few people might know, one of the things I thought might be big gold for me was actually the Toxified Armor Patch. So I put in a little bit of work, and I put in some gold to try to get the points needed to unlock that under Primordial Leatherworking, and I got 20 points into here coming into the start of the week. Cool. I'm all set up, and I was kind of stupid and didn't know the Altar of Decay was in a dungeon. So that does make things a little bit more difficult. If you do not know, it's in the Brackenhold or Brackenhide or whatever the hell that dungeon's called. After you kill the last boss, there's a ramp that goes up, and you can go up there, and that's where you have to craft anything that requires the Altar of Decay. Didn't know that. Now I do. I feel smart. So I went in there and I did that, and I spent, I don't know, 700, 800,000 gold on mats in order to have a decent amount to craft. And I went in there, I made a decent amount of T3 armor kits, which were definitely profitable, right? And then of course a ton of T2 that went with that. And then with Inspire down, I was at like 34%, I think, is what I was at. And did the math on it, and it ended up only being, I don't know, I think it was like 200k profit. Which, I mean, you're like, hey, 200k profit, it works. But the thing is, a lot of those were determined on being able to sell the T2s. At the time, they were at like 1.8k. And the T2s were pulling in like 160k by themselves if they all sold, which of course isn't very, it's probably not going to happen, right? It's kind of like the Fangs and trying to sell the T2 Fangs. Like the T2 Fangs are like, you might as well sell them to the vendor at this point. Same thing, well, not quite as bad for the toxic patches, but point being, I still have some to sell. So now that the price has dropped a lot on the T2 patch, on top of everything else, I'm probably only barely making a profit. It's more of a matter of, was it worth the time and the effort? And between the time and the effort and clearing the dungeon and doing that, and then getting the cells, plus they sell at like 1/20th of the speed of a like Fang does, it just isn't worth. I can make more gold per hour doing other things. Is it a profitable thing? Yes, it is. But not for as much work as I put into it. The other thing to note is there's not a whole lot of competition. There's not a lot of sales, right? But the price, at least on my server, or not on my server, but like the price in general is low enough to where this isn't worth my time. If these were like 20k a pop or something like that, I would probably go out and do it. But given that the margins are closer than I would like them, and basically relying on selling the T2s, at least for me, again, it's the market. Things change. Don't take what I'm saying as like this is the way it is. I can come on here tomorrow and see huge profits in it, right? It's just the way that the market works. But when I did it, and as I've looked into it over the last couple days, it just hasn't been worth the effort. So it's there. It's something I can do now. I will look at it here and there, but at the moment, not worth the effort I'm putting in. Other things that I crafted this week, I think we all know, I have done Fang armaments, and I haven't gone too insane on them, but it is something on Tuesdays that they start flying as people are able to start making more epic items, and they're starting to branching out in what they're creating. These start to go. They sell during the week, but not nearly the speed. You have to try really hard at cancel scanning to get the sales, and it's just, I'd rather try that hard on like Tuesday, Wednesday personally, because I'm able to sell so many at that point. I'll save the rest of the week for other people who want to fight for sales. It's just not, it's not worth the effort for me. I'd rather go do other stuff, so that's what I do. But Tuesdays I was making sale on this, and then honestly, I think I made every single scale this week at some point for profit. Whether that was the Earthshines, making, specifically T3s for profit in my fangs, Infurious Hide as well as Infurious Scales were making profit for me. Pretty good profit at that. They don't sell as quick. They're a little bit harder to sell, but they were making good profits earlier in the week. And then the one that I've never really done before too much for profit, but at least on Tuesday was popping, and that was the Tier 3 Stonecrest. The Tier 3 Stonecrest hide for me on Tuesday was right up there with Fangs. Like, they were really pulling in profit. T2's a little bit slower to sell, but the T3s, they were flying off the shelf. So, at a pretty good, and actually it was like 2,500 or something is what it was on Tuesday. So those were doing really well for me. There was that one day that I was able to make some okay money with reinforced armor kits. Since then, that hasn't really happened, but it's something I have the ability to do. But those are kind of the things I make right now. Almost all my gold is coming from leatherworking. Fang, Toxic Patch, and then all the different scales in particular. And then obviously I make the combatant gear, and I keep it stocked. And between the combatant gear here and the combatant gear for cloth, those are bringing me small incomes throughout the week. The Zap Throttle brings me small incomes throughout the week. And I do my Chrono and my Azure Weave because I have a crafter for each at least once a week. Those bring in good profits. And then the rest of it comes on Tuesday as I'm working hard on crafting whatever is profitable at the time. And that's essentially how my week went. Too bad I'm now like a week behind, but this upcoming week I will be able to finish off my inspiration because I only have 3 points left. Would have been done this week, but I decided to push 20 points to get the toxic armor patch. So unfortunately I have it unlocked, but I'm now kind of 20 points behind what I was doing. My points next week though, we'll be finishing off these two just to have them finished, and then I will finally be able to start working into some resourcefulness, which will hopefully add profits. But I'm sure a lot of other players are starting to now pump points into resourcefulness, and that's going to start getting worked into the equation on what they're crafting, and that's going to make the market a little muddier, especially for those casuals who aren't quite there yet. Next week could be a bit interesting on that for me. So, but I'm also excited that I'm getting, about 2 weeks away or so from kind of maxing what I want in leatherworking, and then from there I don't know which direction I'm going, and I'm sure a lot of people are in the same boat. I haven't been able to do it yet, but I just wanted to talk about it. I'm serious, you guys. You really got to get a Chrono Cloth / Azure Weave Cloth. Get multiple of them even if you have the characters and you have no idea what you want to do. It's not that hard to get running. This is not a perfect spec. I went textiles and I have 30 points in the spinning for doing the flip for the rousings. That doesn't really work all that often anymore. These are 30 points I can have somewhere else. I can have those 30 points more than likely to max out my inspiration here, and even potentially just dump into resourcefulness maybe, or go deeper into like time weaving to get this last node to potentially get your cooldown faster and be able to stock, be able to have 30 kept at a time instead of 20. Either way, it's not that difficult to get your build to the point, because look, there's 10 skill here that's missing, there's 15 skill here that's missing, there's basically this whole damn tree and all of this stuff. It's not that difficult to get to the point of making these bolts at tier 3. I only have one of the blue items on this character, of like the tools and accessories. I only have one of them, and I'm at 83 on tailoring, which if you can't get to 83, which by the way, if you're looking for a way to get to 83, buy the temporal spell thread pattern off the auction house. Yeah, it's gonna be spendy for you, but it is probably one of the best ways I found to boost from that like 55, 60 all the way up to like 80 It does take some gold, and you're going to lose some gold doing it, but it's levels, and you're at the point where you're going to pay gold for levels. So that's what I did, basically just to get myself to the point now of, if I can stop clicking the wrong thing. As you can see, for this character, 2 T3s, or excuse me, 2 T2s. I don't have quite enough inspiration because I messed up and didn't finish out my inspiration tree first. Otherwise, I would have enough. But the big thing is, for me, in order to proc tier 3s, because I can't, I actually have to use 1 tier 3, which increases the price a little bit. But as you can see, I can now proc tier 3s. My profit's really high now. I have almost 20% multi-craft. You know, now things are starting to rock a little bit. So I haven't done this yet, so I need to go out and print my gold with my Chrono Weave bolts, and you should do the same. I need to get onto my Azure Weave character today, finish off its weekly quests, and also take a look to see how many it can craft, even though I'm pretty sure I did that on like Saturday, so I don't know if it has enough right now. I usually wait until I have either max like this or nearly to go out and do it, so I need to do that today on this one. I forgot to mention it in the video I did about some easy things to do, but this character essentially only does, I had gone into transmutation, which it definitely is not needed at all. Like, you don't need to transmute at all. All you need to do is basically buy the recipe off the auction house to do like earths, and then wait until you can do 10. It doesn't exactly print a lot of gold, but it does make gold, and I do them like once a week or when I remember. To be honest, I kind of forget about it sometimes. But just crafting and doing the frost and the fire into 2 earths. Look, I still have 20 on me from the last time I did it because I didn't even take the time to go sell them. But with some, reagents saved and whatnot, it's really not too bad of a small gold maker as well to make sure that you're doing. And that should about cover it for my week, I think. Other than that, it's a pretty big week that if you're into actually getting gear and playing the game. 4 Mythic Plus dungeons if you have the quest, and then you can get some Heroic level loot, which is like 402 item level piece. For a lot of you, that's absolutely awesome. I think for everybody it is. So all the characters that I'm considering playing a lot, which right now for me, if you're interested, is my warrior. I've noticed that I actually really like Devastation. I've been having a lot of fun with Devastation Evoker. And then I think Sub Rogue in Mythic Plus absolutely thumps, and I think it's pretty fun to play. So those are the 3 that I'm working on. And I'm looking to get at least 4 Mythic Dungeons on each of them this week, which sounds absolutely painful. That's a lot of Mythic Plus for me. Like, I'm lucky if I do 1 to 3 in a week, let alone that many. But I want to get it done because I want to get the loot. So that's on the docket for me. So probably not a lot of gold making for the rest of the week. In particular for me, I'll still probably make, a couple $100,000, profit each day. But I'm not going to go out of my way to sit on the auction house, I don't think. I do feel that the game is moving to the point, and I'm moving to the point where, and I've noticed this from other YouTube creators, by the way, that people kind of have their niches that they've fallen into that's making them gold, and they're kind of just focusing on those. And to be honest, that's kind of what I'm doing as well. I've found a few things that are generating good gold for me, and that's where my primary focus is. And if I have time to work on other things, I do. I have multiple specs for different things, whether it's enchants, whether it's gems, whether it's inscription, whether it's, numerous things that I'm working on that just aren't at the point of making profit, and I'm working on them slowly but surely, but spending my focus on the things that I know that work. I would say that you should probably do the same if you can, if you're at that point. I know a couple people that I've talked to are doing exactly that. But other than that, it's just, this is definitely a play the game kind of week because of the Mythic Plus and stuff like that. I have a lot of things I want to get done. For anybody who made it this far, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a tip, or a little bit of an idea at least. It's something that, I know this has been going on since the beginning of time, but I guess I'll just mention it. I'm sure you guys have noticed the increase in prices on certain items like Dense Hide, Lustrous Hide, even the feathers, you know, like the Vorquin thingies, the, I don't know, Awakened Order, you know, definitely like Awakened Earth, Awakened Air. I don't know if I said those. But you'll notice how they jump, some of them in particular will jump massively in price on Tuesday. Something I think I'm going to do, and maybe I'll film it and show it, especially if it works, is I'm thinking about dropping a good amount of gold into one or multiple of those markets come, I don't know, anywhere between Saturday and Monday for me, and buy them when they're low. Maybe I'll do some look on like under my journal or wherever I can to kind of see what the low point might be. I think I might buy in heavily and sit on them, and then if the price jumps up, I will resell. I'll probably be smart and buy things that I use for my own crafting purposes, and that way if it doesn't fly up or if it only goes up a bit, I'll just use them for crafting and who cares. But that's just something you guys might want to look into. I know I used to buy materials like that and flip them pretty consistently back in BFA. I haven't done it a lot since. I actually did a little bit in Shadowlands now that I think about it. And then one of the other things that I did in BFA a lot was buying like the BOE purples and then flipping them for their correct price. Basically, if somebody was just like, I want 100,000 gold, I don't care, and it's a 300k item, I'll be like, sure, I'll spend 100k and wait for it to sell and make gold. It's not quite to that extent, but I do think with how fast materials are moving on Tuesdays and just how much crafting is going on, that you might take a shot in the dark and take a shot at something that you know that you're going to use, drop a larger amount than you're really comfortable with, and see what happens. I do think I'm going to do that. I think I might spend, you know, like 1,000,000 gold or something, buy out a whole bunch of materials, and then pray that they skyrocket in price on Tuesday, or I end up just recrafting it all into other things. So anyway, that's something I'm going to consider doing. Maybe you should as well. That's up to you. And other than that, I just want to mention that last time I checked, we are at 999 subs. So I'm not going to thank everybody yet for 1,000 because we're not there. That 999 is staring me dead in the face, and it's kind of making fun of me. But either way, thank you everybody for the support. The Discord's getting better and better. I would like to send a thank you out to Neff, who's been helping me out recently with the Discord and other things. It's been really great to have people jumping in there and doing some Mythic Plus and hanging out and just talking gold making and everything else. The community is growing, and that was my plan all along. So if you would like to take part in that, the Discord is down in the description below. Please stop by and hang out. I promise I don't bite. And other than that, thank you guys all again for your support, and hopefully you will see a post from me shortly about hitting 1,000 subscribers. So with that, I will see you guys all in the next video.